I'd like to talk this evening about something that is very important. It is known as a slick, cunning disease. It often starts long before you know that you have it. In fact, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe even 7 years before you know that you have cancer. Cancer is a big problem in our world today. In fact, it is known as a lifestyle disease, just like heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and all the other diseases that we have been talking about. And so it is important that we understand. Now, there's so much about cancer that we can talk about, but we're going to talk generally about cancer this evening, and I hope that you can be able to learn something out of the presentation today. Cancer is a leading cause of death worldwide. In 2008 alone, it killed approximately 7.6 million people. Just 2008. And the number is increasing. The common cancers that people die of today are lung cancer, stomach, liver, large intestine, and breast cancer. They're the common ones. They're the big ones, brothers and sisters. And about 40% of cancers and cancer deaths are due, as you can see on the screen, are caused by the 5 leading lifestyle issues. Number 1, overweight, obesity, low fruit and vegetable intake, lack of physical activity, tobacco use, and alcohol intake. 40% related to lifestyle diseases. And so it's so important that we know and understand this. To understand cancer, I'd like you to come with me on a very interesting journey. We're going to go into the body. Come with me. We're going to look at the very cells that make you. How many cells are we made of? I mentioned this twice already. How many cells? 100 trillion cells. Skin cells, brain cells, hair cells. We are about 100 trillion cells. Now, in the picture here, you see an example of a cell. A cell has a cell wall around it. It has a few structures that stay inside of it. I won't bother you with the names, not necessary. But right in the middle there is something very important. It is the brain of the cell. And we refer to that as the nucleus of the cell. Okay. Now, there's something more that you need to know. Inside the nucleus of the cell is a very important material called the DNA. Called the what? The DNA. What is the DNA? The DNA is that genetic material that is in the cell that controls the function of the cell. It controls how the cells will replicate or will divide or will multiply. The DNA controls all that. And so it's very important to know the DNA, the nucleus, the DNA, which is inside the nucleus. They call it a big name. Do you want to hear it? They call it the deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, that was a slip of the tongue. You don't need to remember that. And so we'll just call him DNA. Okay. Now having known what is the cell, just very quickly, I've got only 30 minutes, we cannot talk too much about it. Let's come to something very important here. Come with me and let's see this one. Okay, I showed you one cell. These are many cells. You see here? All organized together, very neatly organized. Okay, they have their cells all lined up. This is a normal cell tissue. Cells, one cell, come together, more cells come together to form tissues of the body and then eventually form organs of the body. Okay, so one cell that I showed you, if there's 2 or 3 more, they all come together. If there's many more, they all come together of the same type. They form the liver, they form the brain, they form the spleen, they form all the different organs of the body. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. Okay, so this is the normal arrangement of cells in an organ. You appreciate the fact that it is all very neat. See how God has made each one of us. We are just so fearfully and so wonderfully made. Now, come and see this. This is an operation. Okay? I told you that I'm a surgeon, so I do some operations. Now, inside there, I hope it's clear, you will see an organ. We call this organ the liver. It sits on the right side in the abdomen right here. It is smooth. It is brown. It is a normal liver. If you have problems with your liver, your eyes will go very yellow. There will be some pain, and when you go to the toilet, you pass urine, it will be very yellow. Okay, now, so this is a normal liver. It is smooth. It is normal. Now, look at this one, because this is very important. That liver that you just saw is made up of cells. And these are the cells. You see them? Very nicely knitted together. You understand what I'm saying? All right, so there's one cell with its nucleus. See the black one? That's the nucleus. And inside that black structure there, the nucleus is what? The DNA. You understand what I'm saying here? Okay, so this is the normal liver cell. This is true normal liver cells that make up the liver. All right, this is important for you to understand so that you can understand when we talk about cancer. Okay, now, liver gets damaged. It has to repair itself. So every now and then, the liver cell, let's take one liver cell, it has to divide. And this is how they divide. One cell becomes 2. The 2 cells become 4. The 4 cells become 8. The 8 cell becomes how many? And the how many cells become how many? And you know, that's how the cells divide, and they repair the damage in the liver. And then, when the damage has been fixed, the dividing of the cells stop. They don't divide anymore. You understand what I'm saying? That's an important point you need to understand. Now, let's come to something very interesting here. When you cut yourself, say in the hand, immediately the cell starts dividing in the hand. There's muscle cells, they start dividing. There's skin cells, they start dividing, and they divide to fill up that gap so that there is healing. All right, so now this wound is healing. You will see that the healing has taken place, but there's still a gap there. There needs to be more dividing of the cells, and so it keeps dividing until what happens? The whole cell is now fixed. The dividing has now filled up all that gap. And so, as in this man, he's got something in his head, he scratched it, and there's a little injury there. After about several weeks, do you see that wound? It has healed. And then the dividing stops. It doesn't go on dividing. The cells don't keep on multiplying. Something tells it, stop now, this is time to stop. And it stops. Amazing God that we serve. Come now, and let's just talk a little bit about cancer. Now, this is very important. Cancer begins in the cell when there is damage to the what? DNA. Within the cell, nucleus. Now you understand? Okay, come with me. In that nucleus, where the DNA is located, something happened sometime in the lifetime of that person, and now that DNA is not giving a good message, not giving the right messages to the rest of the cell, and so now we have some big problems. And so you can see in this picture here, the first picture is the normal cell. There's no problems there, everything okay. And then the next picture, you see some blue cells appearing. Something has done some damage to the nucleus. Something has done some damage to the DNA in this particular tissue. All right, and so it begins to grow. They're abnormal. They begin to multiply. But the thing about cancer cells, dear brothers and sisters, is there is no control. They just keep what? They just keep growing and growing and growing. And then the fourth little picture right at the end there, you can see that this cancer tissue has gone so big, something interesting now happens. It can spread to other parts of the body. Now, this is a big illustration. You can see the normal cells all lined up very clean, very neat, but you see the middle blue. They're all very, they're not in right alignment. They're all very rough looking. The nucleus looks very big. The cells are not normal. This is cancer cell developing in that organ or in that tissue right now, as you can appreciate. And what happens is the cancer cells, they invade, they destroy the normal cells as well. Oh, these are rascals, you know. These are rogue elements within the tissue. They have no control. They just keep on dividing and doing all the destructions that they can do. Now, there's something about cancer that you need to know. Number one, cancer cells, they break through the normal boundaries. As you can see there, now I'm going to turn around. See, this is the normal boundary. The cancer cells are now beyond the normal boundary. This is the normal boundary down here. Cancer cells are now gone beyond the boundary. And then something else is happening here. This little rascal now, he thinks that he's smart. He's broken away from the rest of the cancer, and he's gone into the blood. And where does it go? It can lodge anywhere in the body. That's why when you hear people say, oh, you know, this man has bowel cancer, and now he has it in the liver, that's because the cancer from the bowel has spread in the blood, has gone to the liver. That's what we call metastasis, spreading of cancer cells. This is important. Now, this is a picture of bowel cancer spreading to the liver as metastasis. Okay, now, this is important to know. Let's keep going. Time is running out for me. Some characteristics of cancer cells. Number one, cancer cells, they don't stop what? They don't stop growing. Cancer cells don't obey what? Important signals that God has put. Number three, cancer cells don't stick together, so they quickly spread to other parts of the body. All right. Now, what we're talking about is the bad cancers, you know, and there's so much bad cancers around. Okay, and so it is just so important that we understand this. Now, when you talk about cancer, you always talk about risk factors. What are the things that can lead to the development of cancer? And so a risk factor is anything that increases the chances of cell injury, in particular the nucleus and the DNA which is in the nucleus. This means that anything, you know, it could be anything. So let's take a look at some of these things. I think this is very important to understand and to know. Number one, growing older. Oh, I wish that we don't grow old. I wish I could remain like this, or even maybe reverse my life backwards. Go back to when I was young, but no, it can't happen that way. As you grow older, as we age, the chances of developing cancer becomes bigger. And the reason is because there can be cell damage that happens as we grow older. All right. Now, If you've lived a good life, if you've lived a healthy life, the chances will be low. But if you haven't been looking after yourself too well, the chances can be quite high. And so growing older is a risk factor for developing cancer. Number 2, what is this one? Tobacco. Cigarette smoking increases the risk of men developing lung cancer approximately 23 times. And in the woman, by about 13 times. And so cigarette smoking, dear brothers and sisters, is not a very good thing for you and for your health, for the body. Now, can I just share with you, now, I think the writings are too small, but let me share with you. There's about 11 major cancers that cigarette smoking causes. I'll just run through very quickly. Lung cancer, cancer of the mouth, cancer of the throat, cancer of the voice box, cancer of the esophagus. There's this big pipe that connects the mouth to the stomach. Cancer of the stomach, kidney cancer, bladder cancer, cancer of the pancreas, cancer of the blood, cancer of the cervix. How many more do you want? Terrible cancers. Cigarette smoking is a risk factor for 11 major cancers in the human body. So important to know and to understand this. Now you look at this picture, because this is very important. This is a lung of a real person that was taken out and a picture has been taken of. You will notice, you will appreciate that it looks very dark, it looks very black because of tar and all the smoke that has been going in there. But look at here, look at this little section here. You see this white tissue here, right here. This is cancer of the lung if you've never seen one before. Okay, cigarette smoking is a major risk factor for lung cancer. Now in the x-ray, this is what it would look like. The black is good because there's air inside the lungs. But you see here, there's no blackness up here. This is all white. And it simply means that this is all filled up with cancer in the lung because of cigarette smoking. Oh, dear brothers and sisters, it is not a good thing. Cigarette smoking can cause cancer of the throat, and the throat can ulcerate, and the cancer can come out of the skin, through the skin, and it'll build up in the neck like this. I have seen so many people with cancers of the throat present to me in this manner. You will see why I'm so passionate talking about this thing. A lot of people die because of cigarette smoking. This is no joke, oh dear brothers and sisters. So important that we need to understand this. Alcohol, number 2, is a major risk factor for cancers. And I'd like you to take heed of this counsel because I think this is just so important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different cancers. Cancer of the oral cavity, cancer of the throat, cancer of the voice box, cancer of the esophagus, liver cancer, cancer of the large intestines, cancer of the rectum, breast cancer. Ladies, listen to this one. Cancer of the pancreas, cigarette smoking, alcohol, both major causes of cancer in the human body. I don't know how else I will say this, dear people, but I think this is just so important that we take note of these things. So important. Now I showed you that this is a normal liver. Look at what alcohol does to the liver. You see this liver? It looks very rough. It is very irregular. This is cancer of the liver as a result of alcohol intake. And so it is true. It is no joke that both cigarette smoking and alcohol causes cancer. Many different cancers inside the body. Now, I've just got a slide here. This is a study that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition on the relationship between alcohol intake and breast cancer. You will note here, just with one drink, ladies, your risk of developing cancer of the breast increases by 20%. And if you take 2 drinks or 3 drinks plus, it goes up to about 37%. Now, if you're a lady who is a little bit low on folic acid, you know, when mothers get pregnant, we give them iron and we give them folic acid. to help the baby and to help their blood. If a lady who's drinking alcohol and has low folate, what happens is the risk of cancer of the breast is 2 times more in that lady. And so there is a significant relationship between alcohol intake and breast cancer. And so this is important. This is very important. We don't have time to go through all the rest of the story. Now, in my country, we love chewing betel nut. But when you chew betel nut, you see, when we chew betel nut, we always like smoking as well, you know. And when we smoke, you know, there's always this appetite for taking a little bit of alcohol as well. You know, they all go together, eh? They're kind of brothers and sisters, you know, yeah. And so you will see here, this is cancer of the tongue. This cancer has totally invaded the whole tongue. He can't talk. He can't swallow. So you say to me, Dr. Kuma, why didn't you operate this man? Okay, I take his tongue out. How will he eat? How will he swallow? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can do. Chemicals and substances like asbestos that we know about can cause cancer of the lung and other parts of the body. We know that. But viruses also can cause cancer. And so, before I go there, too much sun, okay, can cause radiation from the rays of the sun, can cause cancer. It's very common with the Caucasian population. In Australia, this is a big problem. And so when you go swimming, you know, at least have some clothing on, along the beach or something like that. Keep the radiation, the sun, a little bit away from the skin. But come and see this one. Viruses can also cause cancer. This is HIV/AIDS. And you will note here, this is cancer of the just beside the mouth. This is this is a cancer that has come up in this lady who has HIV/AIDS because of the drop in the body immunity. Okay, we call this a special name, Kaposi sarcoma. This is a very bad cancer that happens in people with HIV/AIDS because of their drop in the body immunity. But look at this one. This is a big problem in the Pacific. We talk about cervical cancer. My friend just shared with me a lady from Samoa who's suffering from that problem. Viruses. This is a form of virus cancer. Human papillomavirus. I'm sure a lot of you ladies know about this one. I'm sure there is opportunity for you to be able to do pap smears here in Samoa, in Apia. If you've never done any pap smears before, ladies, go and have a pap smear done because it's so important. Cervical cancer, I think, when you look at statistics, is the #1 in the Pacific. Next comes breast cancer. A lot of ladies in the Pacific die from cervical cancer, and it's silent. Usually it starts small, as I've said, and then later on, when it comes big, oftentimes it is too late for the mother, and even treatment cannot be able to cure the problem. And so it's just so important. Now, I hope you have remembered all the risk factors that I've talked about. Now, let's come. Family history of cancer. If there's a family history of cancer, yes, you may be able to develop cancer as well. And so it's so important to know that. Okay? And then high fat and sugar diets. This is very important. These foods, I didn't go in detail about these things when I talked about heart attack and stroke and hypertension. But when you eat too much of these things, what happens is the high fat and the high sugars cause an inflammation. They cause destruction of the cell wall. And then they can also have an impact on the cell nucleus. And they can lead not only to heart attack, to high blood pressure, and to stroke, but they can also lead to cancer. 40% of cancers in the world is lifestyle disease related. And so it's so important to understand that. Another very important risk factor is overweight, obesity. Now, we're talking serious now. Look at this one, because I think this will interest you. It is very, very clear now that obesity can give rise to how many cancers? Cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the pancreas, of the large intestine and rectum, breast cancer, cancer of the uterus in the female, kidney cancer, thyroid cancer, and gallbladder cancer. Wow, we have some problems. We have some big problems, folks. It is time that we make changes in our life. Now you look at this picture. This is cancer developing in the bowel. Okay, when you look up here, this is when it starts. Oh, this is when it starts. It may be 10 years ago. Slow, sleek, huh? And then it grows big. Maybe 3 years later, and then it comes here. This may be like 2 years ago, and then not long after that, it becomes so big. Now the man goes to the toilet and he passes blood in the toilet when he wants to evacuate his bowels. It is slow. But you know, fats especially are dangerous risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Highly refined foods also can become very big risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Corned beef and sausage are big risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Are you listening to me? I think you've gone to sleep. Corned beef and sausage are huge risk factors for cancer of the bowel, dear brothers and sisters. This is so important. Let's understand this. Meat and cancer. Now we're talking. There's a huge relationship between meat consumption and cancer. Look at this one. Red meat and processed meats increases the risk of high cholesterol, heart disease and stroke, diabetes, many cancers, Alzheimer's disease, and total mortality from all causes. All right, and so here we have some very important information for you. Look at this slide. This is from the archives of internal medicine. As you increase your meat intake, look at the increases in death rate. As you increase, death rate increases as well. As you increase your meat intake, death rate increases as well. And so these are some important risk factors. Lack of physical activity. Physical activity protects you from cancer big time, brothers and sisters. Boy, look at this man's tummy. You can put a bucket on top there and he won't feel it, you know. I mean, he's doing very well by the looks of it. All right, now come, Samoa. I want you to see this one. I want you to see this one. Almost 70% of Samoan ladies never do any physical activity. All right, Samoa, you are right there. Almost 70%. Almost half of men in Samoa never do any physical activity. This is 2005, 2008 statistics from the World Health Organization. We have some problems here. You want to prevent getting cancer, it is important that you understand this. Fruits and vegetables protect us from cancer. You look at the colors, all the different colors, they protect you. They protect you. They stabilize the cell walls, and they protect you from developing cancer. They protect the DNA. They protect the nucleus. So important. All right. Now, let's look at fruits and vegetables here. There's no Samoa here, but I think you're not very different from your cousins, the American Samoans, eh? Different? Hey, different? Okay, but I think the food is the same. Okay, you look here. Kiribati, almost 100% of people that don't even eat fruits and vegetables. See this? Almost 100%. All right, and you come down there, you see every countries in the Pacific, we have a big problem with our intake of fruits and vegetables. We're eating too much processed foods. This is evidence that we have a problem in the South Pacific. Oh, brothers and sisters, this is just so important. Now, as I come to the end now, how do you reduce the risk of cancer? There is no magic soup or syrup, drink or tablet that can protect the human race from cancer. There is nothing like that, unfortunately. I wish I could give you one, but I don't have it. Now, I think it is just so important, dear people, that we follow the principles of health given to us by God with so much love and grace. Avoid smoking, please. Avoid alcohol. Maintain a normal weight, please. Eat more plant-based diet. Limit your meat consumption. Avoid processed meats. Limit sugar and fat consumption. And please be active. Can you join me tomorrow morning? We need to walk up to the towers up on the hill. I did that this morning and it was good. Come with me tomorrow. Oh, is it up there again or somewhere else? Andrew would know that. But we need to be active. We need to be walking. We need to be doing things, so that we can be able to stay healthy and strong and protect us from developing problems and sicknesses like cancer. Cancer is like sin. Sin starts small, but it is slick, it is sly, it moves and it destroys. Very similar. So if you're frightened of cancer, if you know that you have some risk factors with you, ask God to help you so that you can do right things, so that He can help you do the right things so that you can avoid getting these problems. And with the sin problem, ask God as well, because He can help you. And so that we can live healthy and strong, be happy, and live long for the honor and glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening this evening. God bless each one of you tonight.